Hello guys, and welcome back to another color and chat. This is going to be my Halloween color and chat. We are coloring out of Deborah Muller's new Creepy But Cute book. And I've only colored one image in this, but you can see the binding here is already starting to go loose. I don't know what happened there. Let me fix my blotter page back here. Just a second. There we go. Alright. And I thought we would color this little fly girl. Set the pumpkin there so that the page stays flat. I'm going to color her fly parts gray. Well, actually, what if we did them in purple? At least I think she is a fly. She has 6 legs like a fly does. Because this is the Halloween episode, I thought we would talk about Halloween things. I am not dressed up this year. It's actually a little bit before Halloween because our internet's slow, so I have to upload videos in advance if I want them to actually upload on a certain day. But I don't have a costume for Halloween this year, and I won't be wearing one. I don't know if actually many people are even going to take their kids out trick-or-treating this year. But even if they were, I live in a very, very rural area, so we don't get trick-or-treaters out here because the houses are few and far between. I have been watching a lot of horror movies and TV shows lately because it seems like all of the channels, as it gets even closer to Halloween, have been having marathons on. And I started watching NBC's Hannibal with my partner Doug. I've actually seen it. It was recently put on Netflix, and I don't actually know why, because it aired, I think the first season maybe in 2015, some time ago was when it aired. And it was a very good TV show. It got taken off the air for being a bit too graphic with its depictions of the crimes and such. But it was a very good TV show. If you liked The Silence of the Lambs movie, the TV show chronicles all of the events up to that, basically. What happens with Hannibal and his crimes, you know. What did he do to land him in jail? That type of thing. If you've read any of Thomas Harris's novels, it goes up to the Red Dragon novel, which I have read them. I read that way back in middle school, which is coincidentally when I read most of Stephen King's books. My parents weren't impressed, I don't think, but I liked them, so. It's quite good. Doug never saw it when it was on TV. We're on the first season right now. We're almost done with it, though. I've seen Trick or Treat, of course, since it's my favorite horror movie. The day that I went to the Reptile Show was the Stephen King Marathon Day on AMC, so they had lots of good movies on there. But enough about horror movies. I thought we would try to talk about mostly Halloween things in this episode. If I did dress up this year, I think I would probably dress up as, well, I was going to say a zombie, but would that be a little bit tasteless with everything going on, I wonder? So actually, I don't know what I would be. I've been a lot of things, though. I went to public school, and there was always a Halloween day, whether or not it was actually the day of Halloween or not, you know. The school always had a day, though, we could come in costume. And I participated in that a lot. I think the very first costume well, I don't remember wearing it, but I've seen pictures. My parents took a lot of pictures. I was a little horse, but my mom had raised horses for all of her life, so it only made sense that I was a horse. I know that one year I wore a Cleopatra costume to school, but that was the year that I unfortunately got the stomach flu and was not able to trick-or-treat. That was not fun as a kid. I didn't even get to eat any of the candy that I wanted because I was so sick. Let's see, I know one year I was a vampire. I can recall being something called Spiderella. It was like a big Cinderella dress, but it had spider webs and such all over it. I never wore the costumes that had wigs, you know, I just went for like the costume itself. And the school I went to, you know, we weren't allowed to wear any costumes that had masks. You could just wear the costume but not the mask itself, so. Those are the ones I can remember being. I know I've worn a ton of costumes over the years. Those are just the ones that stand out in my mind. I'm sure well, I know I was a witch one year too. I can remember that. It was very early on. I wore costumes all throughout elementary school. So there would at least be, you know, what, like 5 years of me wearing costumes that I should remember, but I just totally don't. I think maybe one year I might have been like a female ninja. Some kind of warrior type thing. When it hit middle school, everyone stopped wearing costumes to school. We were still allowed to, but everyone stopped. I think we thought we were too old for it by then. And then, of course, I've said before, I think that I had to drop out of high school because my physical health was really declining. But I can remember some of the high school kids, back when I was in middle school, they would always wear costumes. I think they were back at an age where they thought it was fun. So, I certainly would have dressed up if I had have gone to high school, but I didn't. If you're wondering about Doug, he has always been a tall person, and he was a tall kid, and he couldn't fit into children's costumes, so he would buy adult costumes. But he always went for the ones that came in like a 2-pack, and he would wear one year and one the next. So he was always like ketchup and mustard or bacon and eggs and weird things like that. I can remember seeing him when I was trick-or-treating as a little kid. Okay. We'll probably do her hair purple too. I don't know what this is. Something in her hair maybe? She's already got antennas, so I don't know. I don't know what that one is. I don't know if it's part of her hair or what. But I'm going to do her hair in a lighter purple color. And I trick-or-treated as a kid, of course. For a while I quit. Okay, so we've always lived in very rural areas, but when I was about 5, we moved. And I didn't really make any friends at the new school, so I stopped trick-or-treating around that age for quite a while because I was too awkward. I was always an awkward kid, though, and shy in the new neighborhood that we were in. Well, not really a neighborhood, but we would go to the next town over to trick-or-treat, and I didn't know anyone. I didn't really make any friends there, you know. And before we moved, my parents always took me trick-or-treating at a very, very nice neighborhood in a different town. I think more to show me off because I was a baby, and of course I wasn't going to eat all that candy. I think they just wanted to dress me up and show me off like a lot of parents do with their babies on Halloween. So I stopped for quite a while, probably until I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10. After I'd gotten used to living here for a while, I made friends with the neighbor who was a couple of years older than me. And they were going out, I don't know if that's hair or not there, let's say it's not, for Halloween one year. And they stopped by our house first and asked if I wanted to go trick-or-treating with them, and my mom told them I didn't do that, and I hadn't in a long time. I was just a weird kid, I didn't go trick-or-treating. But the neighbors kind of talked me into it. You know, my friend was going to be there, and she was much older than me, and so she would walk up to people's doors with me, and that made me feel more comfortable, so I decided to go with them. And the way they trick-or-treated was totally different than how we did it when I was younger. So basically, they took us to the town that the school was in, which I still, even though I'd lived here for several years, really didn't get along with anyone. But, and then they hooked up with some other family members there. She had some younger cousins that were younger than me, too. They were probably 4 and 5. And they had a truck and a trailer, and it was set up, like, for, like a hayride. You know, they had all the hay on the back of the trailer. And they drove us all over town. It's a little bitty town. There's a population of, like, 400 people, I think. It's a tiny, tiny town. So they drove us all over the town, and we hit every single house that had lights on, and I mean it. Like, they drove us through that entire town, and if the lights were on, we trick-or-treated there. And I had so much candy that my little bucket that I had, you know, those little cheap jack-o'-lantern-like buckets, there's too much candy. I couldn't fit it all in the bucket. And I was like, this is awesome. This is incredible. Because, you know, when I was a baby, not that I remember it, but there's pictures of me going to people's houses, you know, and I know what neighborhood it was in. in a much larger town. It was just a little cul-de-sac. There were probably like 4 or 5 houses. So I definitely was getting like way more candy compared to what I was getting then. And I thought that was totally awesome at that age, how much candy I was getting and how much candy there was to eat. I had so much of it. So then I started trick-or-treating again. Stopped for a while, started back, you know. And then I stopped again around middle school because I think that's when most of the kids in the neighborhood stopped. I want to make her skin tone purple too. Like, she's not human. We're going to make her all purple. I just had to find the right purple that I want to make her. Okay. Let's go with this one. So I thought that was, yeah, I thought that was really cool, especially at that age. Well, this is more pink than purple, even though it's called azalea purple, but it still works. So I started trick-or-treating a lot again. And I wish I could remember what I was that year. That may have been the year that I was the Spider Queen. I don't really remember. I can remember one of my teachers being Flo from Progressive for Halloween, and that it was a really good costume because she already looked a lot like the lady who plays her. But now that I am an adult and we live out here in the middle of nowhere, we don't get any trick-or-treaters, so I don't know. I don't know what the most popular kids' costume will be this year. I saw that the town I would normally trick-or-treat in isn't going to have door-to-door trick-or-treating this year. They're going to do a trunk-or-treat. If you don't know what that is, some of the local churches around here do them. And basically, it's in the church parking lot, and people decorate the trunks of their cars. And they usually, like, theme it around whatever costume they're wearing. And the kids just walk around the parking lot and get candy that way. Some of the churches have done it, I think, you know, for parents that are afraid of their kid going door to door and stuff. It's like a little bit safer. So I saw that they were just going to do a big one at like the park. To me, there's not really a difference in walking up to someone's trunk and walking up to someone's door, to be honest. You know, usually when you're trick-or-treating and someone doesn't want you at their door, they're not going to come outside and say go away. They're going to hide and pretend they're not home, right? So I would think that sick people would just, you know, not answer the door to begin with, so I don't really see the difference going up to someone's truck and going up to someone's door, but oh well, that's what they are doing. And I think they're going to do it Saturday, which is Halloween. There was one already the next town over. I don't know why they did it so early and not on Halloween, to be honest. They just had it early, though. We're going to do the frills hanging off the side of her face in this color, too. But like I said earlier, even if there was regular trick-or-treaters this year, I live in a gravel road in the middle of nowhere. It's probably a pretty scary road to drive down like normally, so there wouldn't be any trick-or-treaters out here. Okay. Let's do the spots on her wings. I'm going to go over her wings with a purple paint pen. I'm still not used to this set of markers here. It takes me a minute to find what I'm looking for. Here we go. So, it's unfortunate that the book already tore there at the top. Oh, I missed a spot in her hair. I'll go back and get that in a second. I've only colored in it once, and I colored a picture at the very beginning. It just happened to tear right here on this page. I don't know. Some of my Amazon books stay together longer than others. If you guys are going to have trick-or-treaters, are you going to dress up this year? And if you are, what are you going to dress up as? Like I said, I don't know what the popular thing will be for kids this year. The last movie that came out in theaters was, what, it was that Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right? Maybe that's what all the kids will be this year, I don't know. Oh, okay, here's a fun one. So on the way home from the reptile show, we had to stop and get something to eat because we were starving. We ate that morning at like 6 a.m. when the McDonald's opened. But by the time we were done with the show and back in the city, it was about noon, so we were very hungry. And we were eating, and someone dressed up as Michael, like from the Halloween series, he had on like the whole outfit and the mask. And he had on a little fake plastic knife. He like knocked on the window and waved at everyone in the restaurant, and people were laughing and taking pictures of him. I don't know if it was just like a random stranger that was just trying to get laughs out of people, or if it was like something that the restaurant set up, like maybe he comes by every hour close to Halloween at the restaurant or something. I have no idea, but I thought it was pretty funny. Again, I don't know if he was a random stranger or not, but I thought it was pretty funny. So that happened. That was a nice little Halloween surprise, I suppose. I would assume that he was perhaps just a random stranger having some fun with people, but I guess you never know. The restaurant wasn't really decorated for Halloween or anything. So that was fun. That was interesting, to say the least. I've never gone to a haunted house. I know those are popular. There are some. I had a thought before I remembered the whole Michael thing, and I don't remember what it was now. But there are a couple haunted houses open near us, too. There's a big one down by Arkansas that everyone always goes to. I can't remember the name of it. It's like the Butcher Barn or something, I think. I can't go to them because I have a heart condition, and that's one of the things that they ask you before you go in. They're like, you know, do you have a heart condition? Do you have asthma? You epileptic? Things like that. And, you know, they'll turn you down. Not that I would want to go to one anyway. No, I couldn't imagine going to one and getting scared like that. But there are several near us. A couple of years ago, well, I'd say a couple of years ago, but it was when I was still a kid. They tore down the old high school in the town that I went to school in, and before they tore it down, they set it up as a big haunted house walkthrough like that for everyone to walk through, and people said it was pretty fun and pretty scary. I couldn't do it, though. I'll admit that I couldn't do something like that. I wouldn't enjoy being chased by someone, I don't think. Not that I could run very fast anyway, so I don't know what they do when they catch you. You know, I've seen a lot of people, little videos on YouTube of people going through haunted houses like that. But it's just not for me. I prefer horror movies. I think maybe because in horror movies, I think maybe I've seen so many of them that, like, the jump scares are predictable, at least to me. So they don't bother me, but I think in a situation like that, it's like completely unpredictable. You know, where someone's going to be and what corner they're going to be around, so I would totally skip out on that. We didn't carve jack-o'-lanterns this year either, though I had some pumpkins. Did I talk about my mysterious pumpkin plant? I can't remember. Earlier this year, sometime around September, we do a garden every year, but we had a pumpkin plant pop up, okay? And it was not at our garden, it was by my front porch. There's like a little rock garden there with some bushes in it, but I'm talking about like a vegetable garden. We do those every year. And we've never planted pumpkins, ever. We usually plant like yellow squash and cucumbers and stuff. But the year before, we did jack-o'-lanterns with our roommate, who doesn't live here anymore. And we set them on the porch and everything. And when it was time for them to go, because it was so cold last year, they like held up really well. They didn't rot any, I think because it was so cold they couldn't. So we fed them to my goats and my mom's chickens. Well, sometime in September, this little plant popped up in our rock garden, and I was like, okay, this is a normal weed. It doesn't look like a normal weed. It kind of looks like a squash plant. And it started getting blooms on it, and I was like, okay, it's a squash plant, and I dropped the seed from it or something. And then it started growing fruit, I guess. What did you call it? Fruit or vegetables, perhaps? In October this month. And they started getting around, and I was like, okay, well, it's not squash. And then it produced a pumpkin, and then I realized they were pumpkins. It took me a long time to piece it together, but one of the goats or one of the chickens had to have gone to the bathroom there and left behind a seed, and it has grown a pumpkin plant. But they are like little miniature pumpkins. They aren't very big, so they're not big enough to carve. You could probably paint one, but again, they're so small, you really couldn't paint much on it. But I do have a bunch of pumpkins around for decorations. They're just not carved this year. But that was a nice surprise. I've never grown pumpkins before. And I've got a ton of them now because I've gotten like 10 pumpkins off of it, and it's still producing pumpkins. Although we had a frost the other night, so that might have killed them off. I don't know if this fly is going for all this candy, and I'm not quite sure why there are cherries on top of all the candy here, but we're going to assume it's going for that the spider perhaps is trying to eat it. So yeah, none of that this year. Let's see, what else are Halloween activities? Well, there used to be, okay, have any of you ever done a corn maze? I did when I was a little kid. There was this family farm thing that you could go pick pumpkins at and stuff like that, and they also did corn mazes every year. I can vaguely remember doing it. I was probably, again, around 7 or 8 maybe. And I did it with my family and my cousins, and we got lost in it. So, didn't quite work out for us. We had to wave our hands around and like get the attention of these people that were on this big thing way up in the air and tell them that we were lost and we couldn't get out of the corn maze. So that was my only experience doing a corn maze. I don't know what it was shaped like. I don't remember. I want to say it was shaped like maybe one of the presidents, like George Washington or something. But I don't remember. They had the corn maze open again this year, but I've never gone to it since we got lost in it. That was a little bit scary. The people we flagged down, they like came and got us through the corn. Like they walked through the stalks and kind of poked out where we were and then led us back straight through rather than like trying to take us, because, you know, it was a huge maze. But that was kind of like a scary little thing. I don't think I'll ever do a corn maze again. It would be me, though, that gets lost in one, wouldn't it? I see some are big and complex. There was one up in St. Louis this year. Well, again, like north of St. Louis, that was ginormous. I think they said it was on, like, 5 acres or something. That would take you all day to figure out and get out of, I think. It would take me that long for sure. So yeah, no corn mazes. No corn mazes and no haunted houses for me, at least. I don't think Doug's ever gone through a haunted house either. I'll have to ask him. I know that my mom said she did when she was about my age, and she got frightened and ended up turning around and walloping the guy that scared her. And they had to be escorted out of the house. No charges were pressed or anything. They said it happens all the time, that people get scared and they end up taking it out on one of the actors, and he had been hit plenty of times before, but that she decided she was never going to do a corn maze ever, not a corn maze, a haunted house ever again. And my cousin, who is older than me, has done one, and she lost her shoe in it, actually, when she was running from one of the actors, so she had to go back through it and get her shoe, and she said that wasn't fun. But I don't have any fun haunted house stories because I'm not going to go in one. I refuse to step foot in one. I think it's better for me anyways. I mean, I have health problems, so they wouldn't let me in anyways, but like, you know, if they did, I wouldn't go in it. It's just not my thing. I prefer to get my thrills from TV shows or movies or whatever. I probably would also get so frightened that I might end up, like, hurting one of the employees or something. I think that it's like a, I don't know, like a pretty normal reaction to scream and then you turn around and try to go after what's coming after you sometimes. I think that's probably what would happen to me. I've had enough scares, like living out here where I live with coyotes and mountain lions and whatever, so I don't need that kind of manufactured scare in my life, you know. I'm good without them. And I'm actually surprised they are opened this year. I'm gonna do the candy corn, but I kind of have to Google what order the candy corn colors go in, because I don't know. I don't like candy corn. Okay, there we go. I'm one of those people that doesn't like it. I think it's gross. I think it's really, really gross. It just kind of tastes like wax. I don't like those little wax pumpkins either because they're pretty much the same thing. Aren't they made similar to like fondant, I think? And I don't like that either, so. I don't eat candy corn. I don't eat licorice. I got dots a lot as a kid. I don't eat those either. I didn't get candy corn a lot as a kid, though. I think most people actually don't like it. I mean, you hear about so many people hating it. They just keep producing it. And I really don't know why. I mean, no one hands it out. I've never seen anyone eat it. Maybe you like candy corn, and that's good for you. That's cool. You can have all of the candy corn you want, because I don't know anyone else who likes it. I think that, the day after Halloween is kind of secretly just as good as Halloween, because all of that candy then goes on sale. Okay, so if you haven't tried them yet this year, I got a bag and I tried them and I thought they were really good. Hershey's put out new Hershey Kisses this year, and they're called Vampire Kisses, and they're little Hershey Kisses with like a strawberry liquid on the inside. Kind of like those cherry Coryell candies, but there's not an actual strawberry in the center, just the flavored goo, and they're very, very good. I've gone through like 2 bags of them, and I don't usually like sweet things that much. That's how tasty they are. I can remember one year our school made some kind of concoction with candy corn for Halloween. Like, the teacher made it for us. It had caramel and candy corn and peanuts and something else in it. And I didn't like it either. The candy corn flavor is just too overwhelming for me. I like the colors of it, you know, I like using it in my fall images. You know, the colors go together nice. Just don't like eating it. Prefer someone else eats it. It's one of the more unpopular candies, I think. That and Marshmallow Peeps are not good. Okay, so let's do these things over here. I see a lot of people do them in black and white, and that just seems to be a fitting color scheme for them. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but they do seem like they'd be black and white, right? That's just my opinion, at least. I think they should be. That's what we're going to do with them. Alright, so let's start here. This is actually not black. It's Warm Gray 7 in the Cali Art markers. If I use the actual black, it's the exact same colors as these lines in the book, and it's going to eat them. Like, literally eat them, and you're not going to be able to see them anymore, and it's going to look a little bit weird without the lines being there. So that's why I use a color that is as close to black as I can get without actually being the black color. I wish things were a little bit different and we would do more Halloween things this year, and I'd have more fun things to tell you about Halloween and report back to you with, but unfortunately I just don't have that much to say. Because it's been a bit of an off year, hasn't it? We'll unfortunately say goodbye to my Halloween tablecloth here with the little ghosts on it. It is so cute, though. I will bring it back next Halloween, and we'll have to say goodbye to the little kitty, too. But we'll bring him back as well. Probably leave the pumpkin setting there, because that could last through Thanksgiving, I think, right? But I've got to find a different table background, and I don't know if I'm going to go straight for winter or if I'll do something Thanksgiving themed. I know a lot of people that aren't from North America watch my show too, and you know, USA Thanksgiving and Canadian Thanksgiving are very different holidays, so maybe we'll just do winter. Hopefully you have had a more fun Halloween than I have, and hopefully you will have a more fun Halloween than I have. I want to know what the popular costume this year is going to be. I never went to any costume parties either, but again, I live in a really rural area. I don't think anyone ever even had costume parties, to be honest. We all dressed up and we all trick-or-treated, and the town that we trick-or-treated in with the neighbors had a curfew of like 9 p.m. I think. All of it was to be done by 9, so everyone was in home and in bed by 9. So I don't think anyone even held any costume parties, to be honest. I think it just was what it was. But it's been so long since I have been trick-or-treating now. It's been probably 10 years. Okay. And we're gonna do the little spider before we do our finishing touches. We're going to make him gray, I think. He could be many colors. There are lots of colors of spiders, but we're just gonna make him gray. He's clearly, I don't know, shocked at this lady and how she looks. I am too. This reminds me of that Fly movie with Jeff Goldblum, and I guess that's another horror movie. Well, I would call it a horror movie. Like, it's got a lot of body horror in it, I guess, you know, weird things happening to people. Some of those movies that are so fun. Some of the really original ones are really fun. The Frogs horror movie, they just have all those big frogs hopping around, and, you know, they're supposed to be evil and everything. You know, back then it was scary, I suppose, but for me nowadays it's just a bit funny. Oh, I saw that some scientists, they did a thing this year to see what like the scariest horror movie is. They had all these people watch a bunch of horror movies and they put them on heart rate monitors. And they picked from like the list of the top 50 horror movies. I don't know where they got this list, but some list of top 50 horror movies that they found. And they put the people all on the little monitors. Let's do his mouth really quickly. And they recorded when their heart rate would jump. And they recorded their resting heart rate. And they recorded when the people would start breathing very quickly and things like that to make note of it. And the top horror movie, that was my light, sorry, was Sinister. I have seen it. It's a very good horror movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's a pretty grotesque one, though, I'll say that. Some of them are. But I think it's very good. It's definitely, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite horror movie, but it's up there for me. It's certainly a really good one. If you haven't seen it and you like horror movies, then I would say watch it. If you haven't seen it and you don't like horror movies, don't watch it because it'll be a little bit too much for you, I would say. But I think like The Conjuring was pretty high up there on the list. That's a good one too. We watched that this year. Insidious was pretty high up there. There was a classic horror movie that made the top 10 list, and now I cannot think of what it was. The Exorcist was number 17, which is pretty high up for a movie so old, but I think that that movie stands up against time. You know, that one's really still scary today. The practical effects that they used in that movie, you know, the whole infamous split pea soup thing and the girl walking down the stairs backwards, that still looks good today. It still holds up. And I think the subject matter of the movie still holds up. I think people aren't as scared by the monster movies nowadays, but, you know, demons and ghosts are all the rage. So I think that the subject matter still holds up, and that helps to make it still so scary. But, you know, Halloween and Friday the 13th are pretty high on the list as well. And I think so was Nightmare on Elm Street. They were all at least in the top 20, I know that. I want to say that it might have been Poltergeist that was on the top 10 list. I don't know. I guess I'm saying classic horror movie, and I should be saying horror movie from, like, the 80s. But there was one that was older that was up there, and I just cannot remember it now. The Paranormal Activity movies were pretty high up. I think a lot of people reported that the ghost movies were, like, the scariest ones to them. Which, to me, the ghost movies don't bother me that much. You know, in the horror movies, it's always like, they don't show you the ghost, so it's always just, oh, the dresser moved or something. But, you know, I think that, I would say the demon ones are probably the scariest to me. Or the ones where you actually see the big bad rather than it being, you know, invisible. That looks good. So I thought that was interesting. I was going over that list with my dad because he's like me, he's a big horror movie fan. He's who introduced me to horror movies, actually. I was a little kid and my mum was not thrilled. But oh well, what can you do? And I have watched them with him ever since. We watched Sinister together. And he wanted to know where The Exorcist placed on the list because he says for him that's his scariest horror movie, The Exorcist. He saw it when he was around my age, and it really stuck with him, I think. So he said he wanted to know where that one was. For me, I'm not sure what I would say the scariest horror movie for me is. I saw the new It movie, and I thought it was very good. I didn't think it was that scary. I just thought it was a good movie. I don't know, I guess maybe Sinister. I mean, it's pretty gruesome, you know? I guess that might be my scariest movie. That's a tough question, though. That's a tough question. I don't usually, like I said, get scared by horror movies because I know they're movies. I just enjoy watching them for what they are. Okay, so this has been a bit of a short video because I picked a bit of a short picture. But here we go. We have our lovely little fly girl, or spider perhaps, but I think she's a fly. Let me get my blotter page out of the back here. And always remember to let your paint dry, but I did put a little bit of glitter on her head there. It is the purple pen, but it's like also blue, you know, it's the double one, so it kind of looks purple and I set it down, but when I hold it up for the camera, it definitely looks blue. Pretend in your mind that it is purple. I don't feel like colouring a whole background because I don't really like colouring backgrounds, so we are going to leave it white. I think that's personally okay. What do you guys think? Thank you for joining me for this little Halloween color and chat. Next time you see a video, well, okay, I shouldn't say next time because I still have to film my flip throughs for this month, and I still have to film when I colored, so you'll see this background a couple more times, but then I'll switch to something probably winter themed. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed.